Argentina should by now be facing real consequences. A political banner controversy at the semifinal, a post-final brawl caught on camera by half the planet, a red card that was shown, then quietly erased from the record. And yet, as of right now, not a single Argentina player has actually been suspended. No ban, no fine confirmed, nothing official. Just an ongoing investigation that keeps getting bigger while the punishment stays at zero. And the UK government, of all people, is one of the loudest voices demanding FIFA actually do something about it. Let's walk through exactly how we got here, because this story has more layers than it looks like on the surface. And it didn't start with the brawl at all. It actually starts a few days earlier, after Argentina's semi-final win over England. In the middle of their celebrations on the pitch, defender Lisandro Martinez and unused substitute Giovanni Lo Celso held up a banner reading "Las Malvinas son Argentinas," the Falklands are Argentine, grinning and waving it toward the crowd. For anyone unfamiliar with the history there, the Falkland Islands are a British overseas territory that Argentina invaded in 1982, sparking a war with the UK that Argentina lost. It remains one of the most politically sensitive flashpoints between the two countries, and displaying that banner at a FIFA tournament in a stadium code of conduct that explicitly bans this kind of political statement was never going to go unnoticed. It didn't. The reaction out of the UK was immediate and came from the very top of government. Business Secretary Peter Kyle called the banner an egregious violation of the rule that keeps politics separate from football, and said plainly that he expected FIFA to investigate the matter thoroughly. Downing Street backed him up. A spokesperson for the Prime Minister confirmed that Keir Starmer endorsed those comments, adding that while the World Cup wasn't Britain's tournament, the Falkland Islands absolutely are British, and that the UK's position on that has never wavered. The Falkland Islands' own government went even further, releasing a statement saying they were disappointed, though not surprised, and pointing out that the banner was especially insensitive given that many islanders are still affected by the trauma of the 1982 invasion. They explicitly called on FIFA to consider sanctions. It's worth understanding just how sensitive this specific gesture is, because to a lot of neutral viewers, it might have looked like nothing more than a couple of substitutes celebrating a big win with a flag. But this isn't a new flashpoint between Argentina and the UK. This exact slogan has caused diplomatic friction before, tied directly to a war that killed over 900 people less than 50 years ago, and that still shapes political identity on both sides. FIFA's own Stadium Code of Conduct explicitly bans this kind of political statement precisely because organizers know how quickly it can escalate beyond football. And this time, it escalated all the way to Downing Street within about 24 hours. FIFA's response to all of that, at least initially, was to confirm a formal investigation was underway, calling it standard procedure, its disciplinary committee reviewing match reports and considering the circumstances before deciding on next steps. Nothing beyond that. No fine, no suspension of the players who held the banner. Just a review that, for the time being, produced no visible consequences at all. That's the atmosphere heading into the final. Argentina were already a federation under a disciplinary cloud before a single ball was kicked in the championship match, one unresolved investigation sitting open, UK officials publicly unhappy, and the growing sense in parts of the football world that Argentina's conduct off the ball, not just on it, had become a running theme of this tournament. Then the final happened, and things escalated dramatically. Spain won 0-1 in extra time, and the moment the final whistle went, Argentina's Nahuel Molina appeared to strike out at Spain's captain Rodri as Spanish players ran on to celebrate. That set off a chain reaction, Eric Garcia stepping in, Leandro Paredes grabbing Garcia by the throat, then turning on Gavi and wrestling him to the ground while Spanish players rushed over to pull him away. Argentina's own coaching staff got dragged into it too, with assistant coach Roberto Ayala appearing to go after Spain's Dani Olmo in the same chaotic passage of play. In the moment, broadcasters and reporters on the ground widely reported that referee Slavko Vincic had shown Paredes a red card after the whistle, which would have made him one of the only players in World Cup final history sent off after full time. That's what went out live. That's what most of the world football world saw and believed happened. Here's the twist that's made the story so much messier than a standard post-match brawl.
FIFA leader confirmed to the BBC that despite those initial reports, Paredes was not actually sent off. The red card that appeared on broadcast graphics and match information systems was, according to FIFA, incorrectly displayed and was subsequently removed from the official record. Officially, on paper, it never happened, which means Paredes walked away from the final whistle of a World Cup final after appearing to grab an opponent by the throat on camera without so much as a card to his name in the official match report. You can imagine how that landed. Former FIFA referee Keith Hackett didn't hold back, calling it a further blemish on the tournament, and arguing that once match officials show and report a card, it has to go through the proper disciplinary channels rather than being quietly deleted. And crucially, deleting the card from the paperwork didn't make the actual disciplinary question disappear, because FIFA's own regulations allow for retrospective action even when no card was shown in the moment. Paredes and the rest of the players and staff involved could still face sanctions through a completely separate process. It just meant nobody actually had one yet. Within a short window of the red card story breaking, FIFA's disciplinary committee confirmed it had appointed a disciplinary and ethics prosecutor to formally investigate potential breaches connected to the incident. A prosecutor whose scope under FIFA's disciplinary code isn't limited to violent conduct alone. They can look into any offense at all and recommend measures against individuals or entire member associations. FIFA's own code lays out that violent conduct carries a minimum suspension of at least 3 matches, or in its words, an appropriate period of time. Language that's deliberately broad, giving the prosecutor real room to recommend something much heavier than the standard punishment if they conclude it's warranted. There's another thread worth pulling in here too, because it's exactly the kind of comparison that's fueling accusations that FIFA's discipline process bends depending on who's involved. Earlier in this same tournament, American forward Folarin Balogun had a red card suspension overturned entirely, a reversal that came by multiple reports after a direct conversation between FIFA President Gianni Infantino and Donald Trump. That's a suspension getting erased through what looked like political intervention at the very top. Now you've got Paredes' card getting erased too, officially attributed to a technical display error rather than any outside pressure, but landing in the same tournament, involving the same disciplinary system, and producing the exact same outcome, a red card that existed and then didn't. Whether or not the two situations are actually connected, the optics of back-to-back vanishing red cards at the same World Cup are exactly the kind of pattern that makes critics like Keith Hackett, and now the UK government by extension, question whether FIFA's disciplinary process is being applied consistently at all. So where does that leave things right now? As things stand, several reports have made clear that sanctions remain very much possible, for Paredes individually, for Molina, for Almada, for Argentina's coaching staff, even potentially for the Argentine Football Association itself as a federation. But possible isn't the same as actual. No suspension has been confirmed, no fine has been announced, FIFA's own language throughout has been consistent. Further details will be communicated once the prosecutor's report is complete, which is bureaucratic speak for not yet, and no firm timeline given. It's worth spelling out what's actually on the table if the prosecutor does eventually recommend action, because the range here is wide. On the lighter end, you could see individual multi-match bans for Paredes, Molina, and Almada that would carry over into Argentina's next official fixtures, since the tournament itself is already finished. On the heavier end, FIFA's code technically allows for fines against the Argentine Football Association as a federation, and in more serious historical cases involving federation-level conduct problems, restrictions on future matches being played in certain venues or in front of fans at all. Nobody is suggesting Argentina is facing anything close to that most extreme outcome here, but the point is that the disciplinary code gives FIFA a genuinely wide toolkit, and right now, none of it has been used.